Someone you trusted completely once looked you in the eyes and lied. Maybe it was a friend, a partner, a parent, someone who by every measure you had was a good person, someone who had proven themselves to you 100 times before. And yet, the betrayal didn't come from an enemy. It came from the person you least expected. And that's what made it so devastating. Not just what they did, but who did it. We have a story we tell ourselves about betrayal, that it's something only certain kinds of people do. Selfish people, weak people, people without morals. We build this clean, comfortable line between the ones who betray and the ones who don't, and we place ourselves and the people we love safely on the right side of it. But the research tells a different story, and once you understand it, you'll never see human behavior quite the same way again. This is Under the Surface, and today we're going beneath the most painful question in human relationships. Why do good people betray each other? The illusion of character. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo ran one of the most disturbing experiments in the history of science. He took 24 ordinary college students, screened carefully, psychologically stable, no history of violence or antisocial behavior, and divided them randomly into two groups, prisoners and guards. Within days, the guards were psychologically abusing the prisoners, humiliating them, stripping them of dignity in ways that nobody predicted, least of all Zimbardo himself. The experiment had to be shut down after just 6 days. What Zimbardo concluded shook the foundation of how we think about human nature. It wasn't that these students were secretly bad people waiting for permission to act badly. They were, by every measure, ordinary and decent. The situation had changed them. This is what psychologists call the fundamental attribution error, our deeply ingrained tendency to explain other people's behavior through character rather than context. When someone does something wrong, we say they are a bad person. We rarely ask what forces were acting on them, what pressures, what fears, what impossible choices they faced in the dark when nobody was watching. We do this because it's comforting. If betrayal is a character flaw, then it belongs to other people, people unlike us. But if betrayal is something that circumstances can draw out of almost anyone, that's a far more unsettling truth to sit with. And it happens to be the accurate one. The psychology of self-justification. Here's something almost nobody talks about when we discuss betrayal. Most people who betray someone they love don't think of themselves as betrayers. They have a story, and in that story, they are not the villain. Social psychologist Carol Tavris spent decades studying how the human mind justifies its own behavior. What she found was that the brain has an almost unlimited capacity for what she called self-justification, the unconscious process of rewriting our actions so they align with our self-image. We don't lie to others first. We lie to ourselves. A man who slowly emotionally withdraws from his partner doesn't think, I am abandoning someone who loves me. He thinks, I need space. She's too demanding. This relationship stopped working a long time ago. Each small justification opens the door to the next one. And by the time the betrayal is complete, by the time he's gone, he has constructed an entire internal narrative in which he is not the one who caused the damage. Tavris calls this the pyramid of choice. Two people stand at the top, equal in every way. One makes a small dishonest choice. The other doesn't. Each subsequent choice pulls them further apart until they are standing at completely opposite ends, and both of them believe they ended up in the right place. This is why betrayal so often comes from people we trusted completely, not despite their goodness, but partly because of it. Good people have strong self-images, and strong self-images require strong justifications when those images are threatened. The more someone believes themselves to be a good person, the harder their mind will work to reframe their actions, however damaging, as reasonable, necessary, even noble. Fear as the root applies. But beneath the justifications, beneath the psychology, there is almost always something simpler. Fear. Not the dramatic, visible kind. Not fear of physical danger or obvious threat. The quiet, corrosive kind. Fear of being truly known and found inadequate. Fear of losing something so precious that honesty feels like a grenade. Fear of a conversation so difficult that silence, even a silence that destroys, feels safer. Brené Brown, in her research on vulnerability and shame, found that betrayal rarely begins with malice. It begins with self-protection. People betray because they are afraid of what honesty will cost them. And in that moment of fear, the damage they might cause to someone else becomes smaller in their mind than the discomfort they are trying to avoid. Think about the friend who slowly stops including you without ever explaining why. The partner who has been unhappy for years but never says so. The colleague who takes credit for work that wasn't theirs because they needed to feel seen. None of these people woke up and decided to become someone who causes harm. They were managing their fear the only way they knew how, imperfectly, invisibly, and at someone else's expense. This doesn't excuse the behavior, but it does explain it, and explanation is where understanding begins. What this means for us. So where does this leave us? If good people betray, if the line between the ones who do and the ones who don't is thinner than we'd like to believe, then what do we do with that? First, it means we should be deeply humble about our own capacity for harm. Every one of us, under the right circumstances, under enough pressure, with the right justifications quietly building in the background, is capable of behavior that would horrify our earlier selves. That's not a reason for despair. It's a reason for self-awareness. The most dangerous person in any relationship is not the one who has done wrong. It's the one who is absolutely certain they never could. Second, it changes how we might approach the people who have hurt us. This is not about forgiveness. That's a separate conversation, and nobody is owed it. But understanding the machinery behind a betrayal, the fear, the self-justification, the slow accumulation of small choices, can loosen the grip that another person's actions have on our own sense of self. Their betrayal was not a verdict on your worth. It was a window into their unresolved interior. And third, perhaps most importantly, it points toward the only real defense against becoming someone who causes this kind of pain. Honesty. Not the easy kind. The kind that costs something. The kind that requires you to say the difficult thing before the silence calcifies into distance. The kind that trusts another person enough to tell them the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable, even when it risks the relationship, even when fear is screaming at you to stay quiet. The people least likely to betray are not the most moral or the most disciplined. They are the most honest with others and with themselves. Betrayal is one of the oldest human experiences. It appears in every culture, every mythology, every story we've ever told about ourselves. Judas, Brutus, every friend who became a stranger overnight. We keep telling these stories because we keep needing to understand them. And maybe that's the most human thing of all. Not the betrayal itself, but the desperate, persistent need to make sense of it. To find something underneath the wound that teaches us how to live better, love more carefully, and see each other with a little more honesty than we did before. That's what this channel is for. What lies beneath human behavior. I'll see you in the next one.